Hey, I want to make a new video going over why back to basics is really overpowered and, to be honest, why it just shouldn't be in the game. So yeah, I've made this whole sheet right here going to the math of back to basics, and let's talk over it. So just first things first, if you don't know what I'm talking about, back to basics. Your maps randomly have between 8 to 80% more explicit modifier effects. Extra content can appear in your maps, and you can apply influence to your map. So explicit modifiers are the ones listed down below here. So like increased number of rare monsters, additional cluster of highly volatile barrels, stuff like that. So it does not increase any implicits. But these explicits do increase the map modifiers. So stuff like item quant, item rarity, pack size, more scarabs. It'll increase all of those. So yeah, that's back to basics. Let's go over some basic math that I did just to show like how OP this really is. Yeah, on average, back to basics is a 40% more multiplier, so it's 0 to 80%, right? So on average, you get 40% more map effect modifiers. You know, face value, people may think it's a 40% more loot, but it's actually a lot stronger than that because the map modifiers themselves multiply off each other. So if you have, more item quant, it's going to be a multiplier with your more scarab because item quant directly affects your scarab drop rates. Yeah. Here's a baseline example. Let's say we have a tier 16 map with 0 mods. It drops 100 scarabs. Now, of course, you also don't drop 100 scarabs in a tier 16 map. This is just an example baseline, and we can use this to essentially see how much scarabs we drop with other methods. Let's say you have a tier 16 map, 100% quant and 30% pack size. This is a pretty strong tier 16 map. I would say high roll tier 16 / low roll 8 mod map for tier 16. Anyway, for this example, we dropped 260 scarabs. And of course, 30% pack size doesn't exactly mean 30% more loot, but it's really hard to value and justify this number. So I just made it 30% more loot to make this example more easier to understand. But yeah, 100% quant and 30% pack size would, net 260 scarabs. Then let's jump to tier 17. This is also why tier 17s are really overpowered. Tier 17 map, average tier 17 map here, 150% quant, 100% more scarabs, 50% pack size. You can get way better mods. I said it's even like a low roll tier 17. I think this map right here is 153, 154% more currency, 6% more scarabs, 94% pack size, right? This is like an average or below average tier 17 map. But even with this, mediocre mods, it drops 750 scarabs. Already 3 times better than a tier 16 map. You can see why people call tier 16 kind of dead content because, the tier 17 loot is just insane. Now let's go to a back to basics tier 17 map. So we'll use the same numbers right here, but back to basics applied. So it'll be 40% essentially more explicit modifiers. So it'll be 40% more quant, more scarabs, and pack size. So 210% quant, 140% more scarabs, and 70% pack size. Here we end up with 1,264 scarabs with back to basics, which equals 51% more loot than a tier 17 with no back to basics. If you want to compare it to a tier 16 map, it's 5 times more loot than what a tier 16 map would have, at least in terms of scarabs. So you can see why tier 16 is just really left in the dust here for the back to basics with tier 17 map mods. It's just extraordinarily better than anything you do in tier 16. Yeah, it's also stronger than what I've shown because this doesn't count map mods, which also increase your loot, stuff as barrels and rare monsters. So this map modifier right here on the top, 35% increase number of rare monsters. This is also multiplied right with your quant and scarab values. As having more rares, will also be more scarabs. So yeah, it also multiplies this number, which is not, shown in the basic math I've done here. Now, of course, your maps do have 0 loot mechanics, but I feel like this is kind of irrelevant because it's made up by using scarabs. So you can still use scarabs back to basics. For example, right, like I'm still using like 100 traders with more monsters, using Nemesis scarab, which is like more quantum rare monsters, etc. Right? You can still use scarabs on back to basics, which makes up for like not having loot mechanics in the first place. And your maps also is a lot faster because there's no loot mechanics. Your maps are just really, really fast, right? So despite not having loot mechanics, you do make up for it by doing more maps an hour, and everyone knows more maps per hour is just always more currency an hour for the most part. The other thing about back to basics is because you can't have loot mechanics, you can do a full map effect, map quant scarab tree with essentially 0 downsides because there's nothing else you can actually invest your points into. For example, let's just say if you're doing a legion tree, like this one right here, you can't really invest into all the scarab nodes. Maybe sometimes you can't invest into all the map effect nodes or quant nodes, right? You're very tight on points, and this is where back to basics also become really, really strong, because you're not tight on points. You can do whatever you want with your points. In this case, you can just take every single scarab node, which is then also like another multiplier off of your more scarabs on your map and the quant on your map, right? So I want to keep this in mind. The number I'm showing right here, it's a lot stronger than 51% more. This is at a base value baseline. At the lowest value, it's a 51% more multiplier. On the high end, this is easily reaching like 60% more loot compared to no back to basics, easily, if not more, maybe 65%. So yeah, this is why back to basics is just completely overpowered, and personal opinion, I don't think it should be in the game. So Wandering Path was removed this patch, and the reason why Wandering Path was removed is because it felt bad when it was mandatory and you had to take it. So I want to ask, like, GGG, if Wandering Path had to remove in the game, then why is back to basics in the game? Because this feels way worse. If this is ever the meta, which it is right now, it feels really bad to play the game like this, because having zero lead mechanics on your map just isn't the best feeling. You know, I want to do content, I want to, you know, kill monsters, get loot, right? But like, if I'm not doing back to basics, I'm just losing so much loot on my map. It just feels really, really bad. So yeah, I'm not sure why this Keystone's in the game if we can't have Wandering Path. If Wandering Path got removed, then honestly, this should also be removed. Because in the current state, it's just way too strong. Even if they like nerf it to like 60 or 70% more modifier effects, it's still too strong, just to be honest. Maybe what they could do is not allow scarabs to be applied to your map as well. I don't know, but to be honest, it should just be removed, because if this is ever the meta, which it is right now, it's just going to make the game feel worse. Knowing like, oh yeah, this is the best map farm method, it's back to basics. It's not ever, I think, going to lead to a better gameplay. Plus, we already have like a more vision for those that like don't really want to mess around with the Atlas or mess around with the scarabs and all that. Basic Alchemy Go, right? This already solves that. So yeah, that's just my opinion on back to basics. I wanted to show you the math, how strong this really is. It's better than what I'm showing right here, and why it should be removed. Anyway, that's about it. That's the whole video. If you have any questions, leave a comment below.